Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to my channel. In the previous video, we learned how to create a simple item management system in inventory management system using MVVM and Windows Presentation Foundation. Today we shall be creating some more models and to manage the supplies and stock. So go to the models and add a new model, name it as supply. So this is the supply that we request the items for our inventory. So add this supply. I make it public. Okay, in the same way, first I will be adding a key, which will be public integer supply ID get set. I need to add the namespace for data annotations. Okay, next we also need a supplier. So every supply has a supplier. So I also need to add a supplier model. So I create another model which is supplier. Public supplier. And in the same way, public integer supplier ID. Then we have public string supplier name. Public string mobile number, mobile, or we should call it phone. And then address. Again, I'm going to add the namespace for data annotations. Name is required with maximum length of 20 characters. Then phone not required, address also not required. Okay, now I go back to my supply required, and here I reference the supplier. So integer supplier ID. So this will be used as foreign key. Then I need the date, public date time, supply date. So it should be date. And I think that this is enough. Now I need to add the foreign key reference to the object itself. So here it is just an integer which is storing the supplier ID. Now to add a proper model, the entire model into this, so that when we are accessing the supply, we can access the supplier. We are going to make a place for that. So I'm gonna write foreign key, and then I'm gonna specify the foreign key. So the foreign key is supplier ID, and this supplier will be stored in the virtual supplier object. So when we access a certain supply, its supplier will be fetched and put into the supplier, so we can access everything related to the supplier. So in this way, it will be easier for us to access each supply along with its supplier. I hope you understand this, but when we will be implementing this, you would get a better idea of what it is and how this works. Okay, now we have put everything, almost it's done. Okay, now we add the supply details. So I go here and add supply detail model. So this model stores the supply details, like the items that were bought through this supply. So using component model data annotations, again, I'm going to specify the key, public integer supply detail ID get set. So here this will be related to the supply, so I'm going to use the reference for that. So supply ID, and then I'm going to reference the item that will be bought in this supply. So I'm going to add public integer item ID get set, and then I'm gonna put the price, like the purchase price. So public double purchase price, then I'm gonna add the quantity double quantity, and yeah, that's it. Now I'm gonna put the foreign key reference here. So foreign key will be the item ID, which belongs to the item. So public virtual item get set. Also, it is referencing the supply, so I will be adding supply ID, public virtual supply. Yes, that's good. Now I'm going to add another model for storing the stock value of each item. So once an item is bought through the supply, its quantity will be added into another table which will be called as stock. Okay, so let's create the stock model. So I create another model, stock. So this will be referencing the item ID, which item it is storing the stock value for. So also it will be storing the supply ID, public integer supply detail ID. So why are we storing the supply detail ID? So this is because we have a purchase price here. So we will be storing the stock value of this item, which was purchased in this supply ID. And from here, we can access the purchase price of the item. So when we are billing this item, so into an invoice, we get the purchase price. So at the end of the accounting period, we can calculate how much we earned from this item. Okay, so then we have the public double stock value. So this will be storing the stock value of the item. And yeah, that's it. Now we specify the foreign keys. Foreign key, first it is the item. So public virtual item 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 ID. And then we have foreign key for supply detail. Okay, that's it. Okay, so first we added the supplier, and then we added the supply, which comes from this supplier on this date, and then we have supply details, which will be targeting the supply ID, and this will be containing this item ID, this purchase price, this quantity, and then this will be added to the stock table also, like this item, this supply ID, and now this is the available stock value of the item. So the original quantity that was bought into the supply will be stored here, so it will remain the same, but we will be making changes into our stock value whenever our stock is transacted, like in the billing. Okay, now as you can see that with the each model we have referenced another model, and then we have added a complete object for that. So for example, we are referencing an item here through item ID, and we have added an item, the whole object here, so that when we access a stock, we can access the complete detail of the item. Same way, a supply detail is also linked with this stock. So we have added a complete object so that we can access that too. So if we go back to supply, so we can also see that this supply will be having many supply details. So many items will be bought through this supply. So how can we access them? So in the supply we can access supply detail, we can access the supply, but can we access supply details in the supply? The answer is yes, we can access them, and therefore we will be required to add those objects also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add iCollection for that. So as you can see, the Visual Studio's AI already predicted that. So I'm going to add this using the tab. So I have added an iCollection for supply details. So when I access this from the database, I can tell the database, or I can specify in the query that I need the supply details also. So those supply details related to this supply will be fetched and stored in supply details. Okay, and as I have already told you, you will get the better idea when we once implement it. I save it, and now we go back to our DB context, and we specify those models here too, so that we can create the tables in the database. So we need tables for supplier, so public DB set supplier, and the table name will be suppliers. So the table name is always plural, so the model is always a singular entity and the table is plural. So remember that this is the convention. You don't need to follow this, but it is good. then we have splice, then we have supply details, and then we have stocks. Okay, that's it. Now we specify some more details during the model creation to specify the foreign key constraints. So I'm gonna create a method. Actually, I'm going to override a method. So as it has already suggested me, so I'm gonna press the tab, and it has done the whole coding for me. So let me explain this. So this is the model builder. So it starts when the uh, model is being created. So this says that the entity stock has required item in it, and this item may appear in many stocks, and this cascade delete is false, so that if we delete the stock, it shouldn't delete the item. So in the next, we have stock, and this stock has a required supply details. So each stock will have a required supply detail, and this supply detail may appear in many stocks uh, rows, and cascade delete is false. Next, we have supply detail, and this supply detail has required item, and this item may appear in many supply details, and cascade delete is false. And in the same way, we have did this for supply, and this supply has required supplier, and this supplier may have many supplies, and cascade delete is false. Here we just need to add the foreign key references. So I'm gonna add has foreign key I lambda expression item ID. In the same way, has foreign key supply detail lambda expression SD supply detail ID. Also here has foreign key item ID. Here has foreign key S. So I make this SD supply detail, and this S for supply ID. Okay, that's it. Has foreign key supplier SP. So I call it supplier like SP, and SP supplier ID. Supplier ID. Okay, now we have set this up. Now I need to update the database. So if I open SMS, here you can see there's no any table related to supplier or supply ID or stock. There's only the items. So the changes won't take place until we update the database. So I'm going to use the migrations. Go back to Visual Studio, Package Manager console. You can also view it from here, sorry, in the tools, and Nugget Package Manager and Package Manager console. So So you can click here, and then I'm gonna add the migration, add migration, name the migration. So I'm gonna name it supplier supply stock. We can see the designer code has been generated. So this code is going to generate a new table for stocks, a new table for supply details, supplies, and suppliers. So update the database to make the changes. Update database. I can also put the flag for verbose output, so I can see which commands, which SQL queries are being performed. So you'll see the SQL queries being performed here are listed here. Okay, now I go back here in tables, I refresh it, and you see stocks, suppliers, supplies, and supply details has been created. Okay, we go back to our project. Let me close this. Now we add an interface for adding the suppliers. It will be similar to the items. So we go to views, right click on here, and go to class. I select window, then I put the name as suppliers view add. I close other tabs, then I go back to the items view, and I copy the code from here. So I'm going to copy everything, and paste it here. And now here we need to bin the suppliers. So today I'll be creating the view model side by side. Like I will be editing this view and adding the required view model objects simultaneously. So here we need suppliers. So I'm gonna put I'm gonna target suppliers here. Suppliers. So now I need the suppliers in my view model. So I'm gonna add a new view model. I'm gonna name it as suppliers view model. It is public and it is inheriting base view model, and then it will be having suppliers here, suppliers. So it will be having private, come on, private observable collection, supplier, and we call it suppliers. Then I'm going to add a public observable collection, suppliers. When the value is get, it will return the suppliers, and when the value is set, the suppliers is set the value. Name of suppliers. So let me add the namespace for models. So I'm using the models here. So I have referenced this here. Okay. Now I go back to my view. And then we need a selected item. So I call it selected splier. Come back to the view. Now add private splier, selected splier, public splier, selected public splier, selected splier. Okay, why this is showing me red lines here? Okay, the folder name is model and I'm saying models here. So I'm going to rename it as models and hit enter. Okay, I'm going to build the project. Okay, I may need to remove this temporarily so that the project builds. So I'm going to remove it, save it, and build the project. Okay, build successful. Now I put the code back here. Still it is showing models doesn't exist. I need to rename this here also. Okay, now it's fine. I go back to my supplier view. Okay, now we have the selected supplier also. Now we display the name of the supplier, the phone of the supplier, column name is phone, then address, address. So I add these information here. So we will be having name here, then phone and address of the supplier. Next, in the second column, we have details. So I'm gonna name it as supplier details. So first it will be the name of the supplier, then it will be I make it address of the supplier, and then we have phone, I also changed the update trigger to property change. Okay, name, address, phone. That's it. Okay, let me move this before the address so it looks clean. Okay, that's it. Now add these properties in the view model also. So I go back to my view model, private string name, public string name, name is the value, on property changed, name of name. Then we have phone, and then we have address. Okay. That's it. Now we have save command and update command. I go to items, view model, and copy the code from there. These two commands, and I put them here. Then I create the constructor for this view model. So public suppliers view model, save command, update command, load suppliers, automatically created this. So I add the reference using inventory management system PC commands. Okay, now we add these save supplier and can save suppliers. Okay, so can save supplier checks for the name, private void save supplier. So when we save the supplier, we populate the data, and then we use the DB context. So first, let me make it simple. Inventory DB context, DB equals new DB context, DB suppliers, add the supplier, and DB save changes. Then we create second command, private move can update supplier, and here we check the selected supplier is not null and the name is not null also. Then we go to here, the supplier IDs, we don't need the ID here for now. We fetch the supplier. So when we are updating any entity, we first need to track it into our DB context. So What this means is I need to fetch that into our model. So for example, we are going to change our selected supplier. So we load that model into our, we need to load its information into an object. So variable supplier, I should say, okay, supplier, db suppliers, and find this supplier, which is the selected one. Supplier ID. So once that supplier is found and put into the supplier object, then the DB keeps tracking this supplier. So we change its values. So I say supplier name becomes the newly entered name. Supplier's phone becomes newly entered phone. And supplier's address becomes newly added address. Then in the then we do db entry supplier state. So here we tell it that this supplier state is modified, and then we say db save changes, so it saves the changes, and then we load these suppliers again. So I'm gonna define this model to this method too. So we go your private void suppliers, inventory db context, it suppliers, this supplier. Okay, that's it. Also, like we added clear field here, we will be adding it here too. So phone and address. And we do this for each updation and addition. Okay, now we go to the code. So we declare the supplier view model. View model equals new supplier view model. This data context is view model, and that's it. Okay, now we need to display this this view supplier view so that we can add and update these suppliers. So I go to my man window, and I need to add two buttons here. So so we add some buttons here so we can access everything from man window. So I'm gonna add column definitions, column definition width, so the asterisk here, it means auto. So we automatically assign the widths so it is equally distributed. So I have added 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, and 4, they are equally using the width. If I say that the first one should have 2 times more width, so you can see it is occupying 2 times. And if I say the third one also occupies 2 times, then you can see these two are occupying 2 times while the others are auto, like 1 time. In the same way, I'm going to add the rows. So it will be a 4x4 grid. Sorry, it is row definition. Row definitions. Row definition. Auto height. So this will be 4x4 grid. So I'm going to add buttons here. So add a button. This button would be, its name would be items, BTN items, BTN items, and its content would be items. Its background will be blue, and foreground will be white. And when it is clicked, create a new event, BTN items click, and margin should be 5, and that's it. So you'll see an items button has been added here. Okay, the blue color is not looking good, so I make it steel blue. That's better. Okay, now I add another button. And this button goes by the name BTN Spliers, and Spliers, and the grid row for this button is the first row, and the column is the second column. That's it. And when it is clicked, create a new button event. Now I go to the code. In the items click, I call the items view. So I'm gonna create a new items view, new items view, and view show dialog. Show dialog. In the same way here, I call spliers view equals new splier view, and view show dialog. Now, as if you remember, we specified that the startup page for this will be items view. Now we change it back to the main window. So main window.xaml. I save it and then I run it. You can see there's the main window. I click on items and it shows me the items management. Close this. I go here. It shows me spliers. Okay, now I add a new splier. I call it Abbas. The phone number is 0987654. and the address is Pakistan. I save this. You can see it is added. I can click on it, and we didn't add anything when this selected item is changed. So go back to the view model, and when the selected supplier is being selected, if value is not null, make the name as selected supplier's name or value name, phone as value phone, and address as value address. Okay, now run this again. Suppliers, and I select this, and yes, now it is working. I update the phone number 231, update, and it is updating, and that's good. Now let me show you a difference between the show dialog and show. So here we used show dialog, and what if we use show? So I clear it here, save it, run this. I go items. This is items. I take it here, then I click on items, and it is here, and I click on items, and you will see new instances are being launched. So what if I don't want this? So what I want is I show the dialog like here, and as long as I don't close it, I don't want to go back and create another instance. So let me show you what happens to the suppliers. So if I click on here, it opens up. I click back on here, and nothing happens. It asks me to first deal with this, and only then I can go back. So if I close it, I can come back here. But for this, like it is using the show method, so I can create as many as I want. I can go back to the parent and create many children. So this is the difference between show and show dialog. Let me revert it back. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. In the next video, I will be creating other views for supply and supply details and stock. Until then, keep learning. Allah Hafiz.